Hey everyone, it's Fox from modelmaking.guru here, and welcome to part 2 of our build of the Trumpeter 135th Stryker in the style of Drebin Stryker from Metal Gear Solid 4. That's a long title for emodels.co.uk. Hello and welcome to part 2 of our build of this Stryker. I'm going to actually start with some building today. Now this kit is millions of tiny parts, so I don't really want to show you endless videos of me sticking tiny parts together, which will basically be this for many hours. As you can see, I've moved my camera a bit, so I've got a closer up view. Woo! It probably won't work. So what I'll probably do is do bits of the build and then go off and do big chunks, and then we'll come back. Because I might do a diorama, what I might tend to do is not focus so much on all the building, because as I say, it is many tiny parts, but do a lot of focus on the painting and the building the diorama. I think, I don't know, you know how I work, I make these things up as I go along. Also, slight change to my lighting. It probably looks a bit orangey and washed out. Apologies, it's autumn now, so it's often dark outside, so I'm having to improvise my lighting a bit, so it may look a bit rubbish, but hey, we'll get through. Right, so let's crack on. So, strangely enough, we're going to start with part 1 in the instruction book. Now, as you can see, we start straight up there. But I'm doing that talking rubbish again thing, aren't I? Right, teeth in. Let's try again. It's going to go this way. I can see the way this episode's going to go. Right, so we'll start with 1, obviously. We're basically building the undercarriage and all the suspension and everything else that goes on the underneath, which attaches to the underside of the vehicle. So I've already prepared the parts for these. You can see we need A8, A35, A36, A34, A5 and A6. So fairly straightforward, if a little fiddly. So I've prepared all these pieces in advance. So I'm just going to dive straight in. Let's see how we get on. So I need an A35, which I believe is this one. I'm hoping, because I've moved the camera, I'm conscious all you're going to see is my hand now. So A35, which is that one, I think. Yep. And A8, which is this little puppy here. So I've pre-sanded and filed these. Because they're so tiny, you may find life a little easier if you... Oh, apologies for the wobbliness of the camera as well. It's on a different little tripod, which is very, very wobbly. You may find life easier if you either have a very fine, thin needle file or use your modelling knife to trim them. Using a big ass file just gets a bit messy. So we need some of the gluing. Try and open this off the desk so the whole thing isn't wobbling everywhere. As always, I'm just using Humbrol's liquid poly. I've got somewhere a glue brush. There we go. If you use a little brush for your glue, they can get quite stiff after a while, so just give them a squidge. And they should soften up. I also need some tweezers. Tweezers! Where are my tweezers? I have a pair of needle nose tweezers which I find is indispensable. And for some reason, whenever I look for them in my pile of stuff, there we go, every other pair of tweezers is readily available, but these disappear instantly. So, go figure. Right. Oh, you'll also see, I don't know if you can see over here, I've got part 6 and 5 set out with part 6 and part 5 labelled here. It's because they're slightly different. I need to know which one goes on what side. So, I've got them separate. I've got the glue right under my nose. Woohoo, I'm in space. So, we have, and I think you might only just see a lot of my hands now, so. So, this has the hole on the bottom. If we look at the instructions, should have this bit here, the hole on the bottom here, part A8 will go with the little, you won't be able to see this, I doubt it, there's a little rounded bit here, so it basically needs to go like, how does it go on, has it got little lugs? Basically needs to go on like something, like, how does it go on? Interesting. How does this attach? It's supposed to fit, oh there we go, it's supposed to fit flush. There's two little lugs on either side and they're supposed to go in these little tiny holes or little tiny recesses, so I'm guessing it goes like this. Oh, it's actually quite a tight fit. That's rather handy. Now what I'll be doing is, instead of, because these are tiny pieces, I'm going to be manhandling them, instead of gluing them and then slopping them around and trying to get them in place, what I'm actually going to do is put them in place if I can, like these two, if they stick together, and then apply some glue. Now I would prefer to use Tamiya thin glue for this, because what I'm trying to do is just get the, we've said this before in other builds, but I'm just trying to get the glue to go into the little cracks and grooves by its own capillary action. Now I would prefer to use Tamiya thin glue, extra thin, because that's really, really thin. Strangely enough, the name kind of gives it away, and that's perfect for feeding it into little cracks and grooves. But it is incredibly hard to get hold of outside the UK. I did find one place on eBay that was selling some from Germany, so I ordered some a while ago, and they sent me regular to me, so I was like, yeah, great, thanks. That's really helpful. So, however, good news, fellow modelers. E-models will have some in stock. I think they said it will be in the next few weeks. I think. So hopefully, we shall soon have that. I would recommend it if you're doing lots of tiny fiddly pieces. It is a fantastic glue, just because it's so perfect to feed into little tiny cracks and grooves. Right, so that's on. Et voila! Oops. Focusing, focusing. Not focusing. Yay. Where are we? Wobbly camera! There we go. So that's that piece done. I won't focus in on it every time I stick something on, because that will get incredibly tedious for you. Right, so next we have A36, which is this little fellow. I meant to make a pointy stick. I forgot. Gosh darn it. I was going to make a pointy stick in the style of Ted Hawksworth's pointy stick, and I completely forgot. But if you're not seeing them, go onto eModels page and watch Ted Hawksworth's videos. They're really good, and he has the best pointy stick in the world. Hi Ted. Right, so A36. A36 needs to go on the back. So this is the piece we've just glued. Now I know you've watched these videos before from me and Ted and Paul, and this is probably like trying to teach grandma to suck eggs. So I won't focus too much on the building. Now I need to get this the right way up, and there's no clear indication which way the right way up is. Oh yes, okay, so you see, I don't know if you'll see on here, but on this piece there are two little lugs at the top here, and then three underneath, and on the bottom side there are three, and it's this way up. You want the two at the top according to the diagram. So that goes thusly. I'm trying to angle my hands here so you can actually see what I'm doing. It's actually quite uncomfortable. So that's just going to snap on there. Okay, it doesn't seem like these holes are lining up perfectly, so there may be some fiddling later on to get those to line up when I have to stick things in. Okay, so that's not going to go together by itself, so I'll just put a little glue on there. Make sure we're the right way up. So it's that way. Brush of glue. And just a tiny amount, I don't need a lot. I don't need to go crazy with it. Just enough to get it to stick initially, and then I can feed glue in. This Umbro glue is really good, but it is a little bit thick for this purpose, as is the Tamiya stuff. The normal Tamiya glue is really thick, which is why it's not the best for feeding into little cracks and grooves. And it's not quite as stinky as the Umbro glue. I mean, both glues are absolutely fine, if you're gluing big parts together, which I think there's maybe one or two in this kit, big parts. If you're gluing big parts together, it's a bit messy. Yeah, that went a bit messy there. Then yeah, that kind of glue is absolutely fine, but I really want a thin one, so I can't wait for the E-Models guys to get it. That doesn't seem to... Have I lined that up right? A little tab. No, I haven't lined it up right. Stupid fool. You crazy fool. Let's put some more glue on there. Get in. A lot of people tend to just slap glue all over the place on models. You don't actually need to. That's the wrong bit, you fool. You just need enough to make the seal, to make the join. As I've explained before, that really isn't lined up at all. Polystyrene cement melts the plastic together. I'm having some problems with this. It's really not being conducive to lining up and making any sense. Okay, well, either I've got this wrong or these holes really don't want to line up. So I think some carving may be required. You see it lines up just about on there, on that side. On this side it's all over the shop. Now it's all over the table. And as far as I can see, I've got it lined up correctly. Odd. Not to worry, I can clean that up anyway. I can make that hole better. Made a bit of a mess with the glue there. Great. Right, so next part is a 34, which is this little puppy here. Tiny. That needs to go in the back here, where there are two holes. It goes up. It's got a little recessed groove on this side, so that needs to go in. I really don't know if you can see this. I'll try turning around a bit. Is that any better? Probably not. This needs to go in here. Thusly. That's actually quite sweet, so I can just glue it straight on. I'll do it underneath. Okay. That's that on. It's when things don't fit together very well, or don't fit together perfectly, that you start thinking, have I done it wrong? Have I messed something up here? You get that little moment of nagging doubt. But sometimes on models there's just you get fit issues or things don't quite line up properly. Okay, so that's that on. And then we need piece 5 and piece 6. So we'll do 5 first. Destruction show things going like that, straight this way around. And it should show it pointing upward. Thusly. Let's just try to point piece 6 and see what happens. These might actually force it to line up properly, so... Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's going to go in like that. As you can see there, it will attach in a timely manner. A little bit. I want these are going to need to be fairly sturdy, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue in there before I stick them on. Action stick. I'll put some glue on this bit as well. Because they're actually not that tiny, these pieces, so I can handle these, and just making sure they're straight. So that's that one. Oh, hello. Stick the wrong end of the brush in the glue. Little touch of glue in the hole. I'm doing it with my left hand, which is really weird because I'm right-handed, so I don't know why I did that. Little touch of glue, and then again slap it in. It's a professional modelling term, that. Slap it in. Just make sure they're, oops, can't even see that, can you? Make sure these are nice and straight. It's a bit difficult because the holes aren't exactly the right shape and exactly the right size for the lug, so there's a lot of wiggle in these, so I don't think it's the end of the world if they're not quite lined up, because I don't think the wheel attaches directly to these. So step one. See if I can show you. It's not good having the glue right under your nose. Let's try it with this hand. So we have this piece now done. First of many steps. So I now have to go off and make 4 of these before I can stick them all to the seamy underbelly of the vehicle. So we shall come back in a second when I have done just that. So back in a moment. And we're back. Okay, right, I've jumped a little bit ahead. I've done all 4 of these, what I assume are, I don't know, differentials. I'm not greatly averse in vehicle build and makeup. I used to have an old Land Rover and that had a big ass differential that looked something like that. So in the comments, tell me what they are. I'll probably know 6% of what's on this vehicle, so I'll probably misname things left, right and centre. So I've gone ahead and wobbled the camera, that's what I did. Gone ahead and put those on. Next up, we've got little tiny pieces to add. I also made myself an enormous cup of coffee, which won't even fit on this screen. It's my litre of coffee cup with Batman on it. Coffee is an essential tool for when you're building a model. It keeps you awake, especially when you spend all day squinting at tiny things. Right, so we've got these on. So now we've got a couple little pieces to put on. So, and our first big piece. Not really big piece. Okay, so now we have step 2. Done these. Added the little drive shaft in the middle and the drive shaft ends. The rod ends? Is that what they are? I don't know. I don't know cars. And now we've got 4 of these to add. 4 of these little puppies on the sides here and here. And a couple of the towing hook eyes to go here, and this plate on the front. So we should get those done first. Now let's have a look and see. These go in here. One word of warning with these. So I've never made a trumpeter kit before, so I don't know if this is normal. But on these arms, track rod arms, again, I don't know what. Somebody who knows about cars tell me. These arms of the axle, the point where they're stuck to the sprue is right near where there's another little. Do you see this little stud here? You probably can't even see it. There's a little stud on the end at the top of the bottom, like a bolt, because there's going to be a joint there. And the little lug where it comes off the sprue is right behind it. So do be careful when you're filing that off. Maybe a case of carefully use your knife and not a big massive sanding stick. Okay, so I'm going to get these on. Hope you can see all this. So we have them on. There's 2 parts, I think 15 and 16. They're opposite each other, so make sure you put. I mean, you can't put them on the wrong way. The lug is on the other side, but just pay attention when you're using them and getting them off the sprue. What I've started doing with this kit, which is something I've never really done before, is in little steps laying the pieces out on my desk, on my cutting board, in order. So they're laid out and I know which piece comes next. Now these actually fit quite snugly, so it's almost like a snap fit kit piece. Move the glue out of the way, so it's right under my nose. So I'll just stop talking even more rubbish. And you probably can't see this because of all my enormous hand. So these just go on there like this. A bit more, because I don't think I actually got much glue on the brush then. Okay, so that's those two. Now we have two on the, let's put my glue, two on the other side. Same again, I'm just going to put my glue there. There. Okay, so that should go here. As I said, they are chiral, they are left and right handed. There's one for the left side, or two for the left side and two for the right, so just be careful when you're getting them, dry fit them first to make sure you got the right one. Oops. And it falls out. Fabulous, darling, fabulous. Right, there we go, that's that one. These aren't quite such a tight fit. I'll do one at a time on these. If you're wondering about my glue brush, it's just an old fine paintbrush. You do get brushes with glues, usually on the lid. But if you're if you want to be very specific, or if you're trying to feed the glue through the seam line or a join, use a tiny brush instead. If you're just gluing two big ass panels together, it doesn't really matter. But for fine work, use a thin brush. And again, because this glue is quite thick, you don't need too much, so make sure you empty a lot of it off the brush. I hope you can see this. I thought this closer camera angle might be a bit better for some of this small work without you getting my head in shot all the time. Although for all I know, my head's in shot all the time. Wouldn't surprise me. Hokey McDokey. Just those four on. Now we have two really tiny pieces. These little puppies. I think they're towing eyes, and they go here on the little recess for them on the hull. Now they're kind of, when you cut these off the sprue, they're kind of built into the sprue, so this part here, where you think there should be a little square bit, there isn't, it's just you have to kind of cut it and guess. So it's not brilliant, but it does come off. So now I want a little bit of the glue. I'm going to apply this to the part. I could put glue in the little hole, but it would just get messy if I do that, so I'm kind of hoping this goes in without flying all over the place. It's not exactly the snuggest of fits. Oh dear. So I'll just, that little touch of glue was just to get it to stick in while I now feed glue down the side. Now you'll notice that as I'm doing this, you can see shiny bits where the glue is. And it's not a major problem. You'll always have that, unless you're using something like Tamiya Thin. You'll always got some overbrush. It's not a major problem because it will be hidden by paint anyway. So don't worry too much. Just be careful with it, don't splash it everywhere. If you get loads of it on a brush, or if you use the brush that comes with it, and I can't pick this piece up, then yeah, you'll see lumps and bumps and you'll see a physical blob. You don't want to do that, because that just looks messy, and that won't be hidden by paint because it'll be a physical lump. Bit like me on a Friday night. But a little shiny area will be hidden, so you'll be fine. Now I've got no idea how much of this you can actually see as I'm going along, so you could just have spent 20 minutes watching my hand, or the bottom of the thing I'm doing because it's not in shot. Who can say? push that on. Make sure they're nice and lined up. Yep, looks pretty spanky. Cool. So I'm going to move my cup over there because I keep going across the camera shot. So that's those two little puppies. Next we have a B31, which goes here. And the instructions show it to be this way around with the gap here. So it's just two slots and that will just snap on there. It's a nice tight fit anyway. For this one I'm just going to use the lid brush. Let's get some more glue actually. The lid brush, because it's rock hard. The brush has actually gone solid. That's not cool. So I'm being a bit generous with the glue there. Make sure it's the right way and pop it on. Try not to take off those towing hooks that I've just glued on, because that would suck. Now I need a little glue brush, and I can just work around. Oops! I can work around the edges now and just feed it into the gap. I've noticed that I drop things quite a lot on these films. You know why that is? Because I'm an idiot. I'm just feeding this into the gap. I hope you can see it. Just enough to get it in there. Now there is an obvious panel line there, but I'm not too bothered. At the end of the day, this is an armoured vehicle. And armoured vehicles tend to have plating. And plating is usually stuck on. Not stuck on literally, you know, but... That's on. Okay, so that's that bit done. Now there are 4 more plates to put on. Let's just put that to one side. Put the lid on my glue so I don't go into space. Right, we have C11 and C12. I didn't want to take these off the sprues because I didn't want to get them confused. As always, taking stuff off sprues. Just a bog standard sprue snip. You can use a modelling knife, you can use decal scissors. I find sprue snips the best just because they've got a flat edge and a beveled edge, and the flat edge is what you put against where you want to cut, and they give you the cleanest cut. So, instructions say on this side I need part C11, which is here somewhere. There it is. It's this one. Ooh, hang on, drop my glue brush. Ugh. Day of disorganisation. So C11. Hoping this is all in focus. For all I know, this could all be out of focus. Yeah, sprue snips give you a nice straight cut. So that's C11. I'll cut C12 off as well, but I'll keep that to the other side. Again, what I try and do is keep the flat edge, which I haven't just been doing, the flat edge in front of the piece I want to cut. So it gives me a nice smooth edge. So that's 12. Mental note, that's 12. I also need C1 on this side, which is there. C1 and also C13, which is there. Put that to the side. Quickly file these. I find I had to have a little pot to the one side just for filing debris. Now there should be a nice, not a big piece of sprue on there, so I can file this with just a filing stick. I tend to use this one, which is quite rough, and I can't remember what grit it is. I have these are all flex files. I have the 3210, which is the polisher and the finisher. So polisher, finisher, rough, smooth, slightly less coarse than that. And I also have the 6000 grit flex pad, just for making things nice and shiny. Basically, you want to start with the rough file to get rid of the rubbish, and then just polish it with the smoother ones to make them back to the shiny plastic. It's quite a small piece, so it's quite fiddly. So I'll just got rid of the flash. I'll just get rid of some of that marring I've put in, and then try not to drop it. Polish it again. I don't know if you can hear it, kind of goes tick, 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 tick. It grips when it's back and shiny. I can't help shaking the feeling that I'm going to do all this and watch it back and just see it's like an hour of my hands, or an hour of something out of shot, or an hour of no being in focus. So I'm trying a little gorilla pod for my iPhone. So wrong one. What am I doing? That. If you can, file it along the length of the edge. Just makes for a nice, flatter, more even surface. Right, so that's those two. Away with you, little pot. So 1 and 12 are on this side, and they are going to go. Which way are they going to go? They're going to go here. And that one goes there. Now there's no actual lugs for this, it's just flat. So I'm going to have to glue it on and manoeuvre it slightly, I think. Because I'm guessing it needs to be flush with the edge. So let's just get some glue on there. A little bit of glue on here. And then do the do. Just make sure it's nice and lined up. I'll do this other part as well, because this may push it back into place. So this is going to be, that's that hole there that lugs into it. So I'll put some little bit of glue on there, like that. And slot it in. It's quite nice to have a model kit where you actually put the armour plating on it rather than just have the armour plating moulded into it. Not very often you get that. I've just taken delivery of another APC kit for a different build, and it doesn't have this, it just has the hull pre-moulded, which is fine, but this just makes it a bit more interesting. Make sure this is lined up, don't I? Now I'm guessing there'll be some higgledy-pigglediness on armour plating, because it's never perfect. And I'm assuming there's supposed to be this little channel left down there, because there's a hole at the top for something. Okay, that's that done. Looking rather fab, I think you'll agree. So I need to do the other two on the other side. Oh yes, there is something that goes in that there. Need to do the other two on the other side, and then there are some more bits to stick on. So let me go and prepare those pieces, and we'll dive on. I'm going to try and get to, well, I don't know, I think I might try and get up to step 5. I was debating whether to get to step 6, which gets some photo etch, but I'll go and do these two pieces on the side, and I'll go and prepare the next lot of pieces, and then we'll stick them on. So back in a moment. Okay, right, I got a bit more carried away than I thought I would, partly because I was enjoying it, and partly because so many parts are small and fiddly, and it's lots of fiddly coordination that it wouldn't have made for good filming anyway. You would have just seen this, which isn't very exciting. So I've gone a bit further ahead than I thought I would. I've added the wishbone suspension. Please tell me if these are all the wrong terms, because I have no idea. I've added these bits at the back. I don't know what they are. I'm not even going to try. Don't know cars, so... couple of things to point. I've added the little towing eye here, or winch eye here, one on each side. In the instructions it says to leave these unglued, but I've glued them anyway. And I've also had to make these two things, which I don't quite know what they do. I mean, I know what they do. They go on, but I don't know why I had to make them when I did, because it's part 3 of step 5, which is divided into 3 steps for some reason, and these don't get added to the hull for a good couple of steps, so I don't quite know why they're in there. So, a couple of things of note. It's all small fiddly parts, so if you're building this, do take your time. The wishbones here, the 3 parts, there's the 2 nubs on either end of the wishbone, and there's the wishbone itself. Easiest way I found to do this was to glue both these in, but while they're still movable and not set in place, add the wishbone. That way it keeps these in place, so you're not fiddling around trying to coordinate 3 different things. And you can get them lined up to glue on top of here as well. And it just makes it a lot easier. These pieces, you glue the 2 halves of this disc area together, and then you leave this unglued so it can wiggle around, because you glue this on, then you snap that into place, and then you glue it in place. But that'll do. We are now up to, if you're following along, that completes part 5. So the next part will be part 6, which I've done part of already. I've added these, but we now have a choice here between the plastic parts or the photo etch parts. So I'm probably going to go for photo etch to show you those. So that'll be the next stage when it comes up in the next episode. But that will wrap it up for today, I think. It's gone on for a while, and I don't want to make this too long. So watching me glue things together isn't very exciting. My brain has just gone completely blank. Oh. Hang on a minute. Let me make a call.
Otacon, I've come to the end of my video, but I've forgotten how I wrap them up. It's kind of embarrassing.
Really, Snake? Wow. Are we gonna have to worry about your old man mind as well as your old man eyes?
Enough with the old already. This isn't the Wrath of Khan, you know.
Seems like you've got old man grumpiness as well. Never mind. Anyway, this is usually the part in the video where you tell people about emodels.co.uk, a great online store where they can buy models, paints, equipment, anything they need. They just need to go along and order what they want, and it's with them within days, no hassle.
emodels.co.uk. I'm remembering something about that.
Next, you normally tell them about eModels' Facebook page, facebook.com/eModelsLTD. It's a fine little community where people post their works up for others to look at, and also you can keep up to date with eModels and see what models and equipment they may have in stock soon.
Facebook. Got it.
Lastly, you also tell people about modelmaking.guru.
Modelmaking.guru?
Yes, it's your own website where you have a blog, you do write-ups of your builds, post galleries of the finished pieces, and occasionally from time to time you even sell them.
Got it. I hopefully should remember all this for next time.
I certainly hope so. Nanomachines can do lots of miraculous things, Snake, but with your feeble memory, there's only so far they can go. Can I ask you a question, by the way? It's not related, but why are you talking in that gravelly Batman voice?
This is my codec voice. Don't tell me you don't have one.
Adios, amoebas.